Hey, this is July Talk.
And you're listening to
Recess
with Spinelli.
You are listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival Milan, and the New York State Music Blog. And today we are here with the alternative rockers from Toronto, Canada, July Talk. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Now, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear your music is definitely the dynamic with the vocals.
We've heard that from time to time. Yeah, no, I mean, the band is all kind of framed around the two lead vocals, and we try to write music that's as dynamic as the dynamics between our two vocals, I'd say.
And we also don't think about it too much because it's kind of just how we sing. So the way we write kind of just has more to do with all five of us and our taste and what we kind of try on in the studio or in the rehearsal space and what kind of feels like it could be what could be July Talk.
Generally, we'll try to find some time that we can come off the road because we usually play about 150 to 200 shows a year. So we try to slot away time where we can kind of get away and go to a secluded area, somewhere where we can really focus and work really long days and go through all of these ideas that we've been developing on our own. Once we've played it together a couple times, we always have a joke that the first time we kind of play it, sometimes that presents the best ideas. And so you don't want to ruin the song, and you want to try to kind of like get a good environment, find yourself in a place where you really have each other's focus, and make sure that first time you play through the idea, it kind of counts, you know, because usually your gut instinct and the first thing you do, and the sort of Neil Young and Crazy Horse ethos is that's usually the thing you should do. Subconscious probably has a better idea of what's cool and what's you than your overthinking mind. We just finished our new record. We came out in September, and probably the last 10 songs we tried. The last 10 songs we tried because of the phase we were in about trying to lock the record. I think it was probably a bigger struggle than some of the stuff we did early on. I mean, it was our second record. So I think everybody thinks that on a sophomore record you're going to overthink everything. I think that maybe something that's interesting to chat about is just I think there was a sort of maybe accidental effort to make something that sounded a bit British. I mean, we really enjoyed a lot of bands like Blur, a lot of bands like the Arctic Monkeys' newest record. There's a few albums in particular that came out of the UK. They got us really excited, and Band of Skulls in particular we were interested in because of the sound of their band, and our producer Ian Davenport did their records, so we brought him over from the UK, and working with him was kind of a dream. I don't know, he was going after the hips. He was always yelling about the hips and whether we could move our bodies to certain parts of our bodies to certain rhythms and make the rhythm section really dancey. But yeah, I mean, he really forced us to try to capture a take, not really use a lot of click track, not try to use much computers and tricks like that. It was really mostly about trying to capture a moment, and then when we got him excited, we kind of knew we were doing something right.
Now, I mean, I have heard a lot of bands, especially rock bands, talk about the same concept about being more human, leaving some mistakes in the records. But I'm still kind of curious, why do you think people gravitate more towards mistakes in song, just to keep it nice and simple, as opposed to something that sounds utterly perfect as being something with which they can relate to more?
Well, I guess it's just because it has swagger, right? Like, mistakes are always going to create this sort of cool-ass guy walking into a room, and something that has humanity is going to have that swagger. But at the end of the day, I still think it's right now in this current scene. It's a thing I'd like to see more of, for sure.
I think it's also having to do with capturing a moment in time, and it's kind of a similar feeling when you're watching 16 mil footage as opposed to something digital or something shot on a phone. It's just it places it into this timeless moment that existed at one point, and your body reacts to it and relates to it and really feels it in this way that you can't emulate with a click track and with something more quantized.
I think that said, like, I would say the biggest struggle as a musician is to allow things to not be perfect. And I think that we're far from being beyond that struggle. It's actually a struggle to allow those mistakes to happen and put it out with your name on it. And I think that I would love to see us go further down that road.
So I think if you look back at what records people really loved throughout history, they're the ones that are real. When you think about all these records that are classic albums, I don't think any of them are like these fake computerized. You know, there's exceptions. You have like Daft Punk and these really cool electronic bands, but they're using that in such a creative way. I heard this quote where young kids now that have had all this music that's so quantized and so perfect, they go back and listen to the Beach Boys and the Beatles and they actually think they're bad musicians, which is crazy.
Actually, that concept of being timeless with music, or with, I think I've heard you guys say in the past in other interviews with music videos, is that something you guys try and strive for, to have music that is timeless, or do you just try to create music in the moment and where if it goes from there?
I think we're very concerned about dating ourselves. I am. From a personal perspective, and I think that we talked about it a lot in terms of what we wanted our record to sound like. You know, obviously there's a lot of like 80s music that it's easy to call them dated because Flock of Seagull's Hair or whatever you want to call it. But a lot of that music really did date itself, and I think that's why the 80s was so hard to swallow for the majority of the 90s and then on the way into the 2000s until it kind of became trendy again. But you know, we just want to make records, and there's so many examples of bands that we love, and the bands that we do love, you know, let's say Spoon, you know, Kill the Moonlight came out in 2004, and it could have come out yesterday and it would have just blown people's minds. Blur is another great example of that. Wilco is another example of that. These are bands that we can all kind of look up to. These are bands that are completely unattainable to be, oh, I want to go become Radiohead, you know. Of course, we understand that, but that's what they're there for, and that's what you want to do, is that, and when you look back at Radiohead, there was so many courageous decisions throughout their career. Like when they put out OK Computer, they had the whole rock world under their thumb, and then they put out Kid A. Like there's so many decisions they made in their career to step away from what was cool necessarily. And I think that right now, because we really like loud guitars, because we really like human sounding arrangements and stuff like that, and because we kind of have our feet under us as a band and we have confidence as a touring band, we're okay with kind of making whatever we like. And I think it took us making Touch to kind of realize that was possible, and I'm excited to see what kind of comes next, because if we really are looking up to those bands and we really are wanting to do what we want to do, then it's possible that we could make something kind of truly unique and apart from our scene that we happen to be a part of. You're always going to end up sounding like your current year because, you know, you're making a picture of your life in that moment. But yeah, I agree. I think you just want to kind of do something that excites all of us. And we've all known, like, all 10 songs on the record, I think when they first were conceived, like, we all looked around the room and we were like, all right, this is good.
Band kind of has obviously its own personality, identity, and they're kind of in a way a business, so they each have their own brand in a way. So what would you say is the July Talk brand? Well, either what you hope people view you as, or what other people do actually view you as?
We made pretty drastic decisions at the beginning and set limitations in terms of our branding is all in black and white. Peter's super into fonts. We kind of like had a font for the first record and we have a font for the second record. And the idea was just kind of always have our brand and our content be recognizable. All of our videos, especially on the first record, were, you know, directed by Josh, produced by Peter, and kind of made by the same camp of people. The second album, we've kind of started collaborating with other people as well, but it's always the same vein, the same kind of influence, and the same look. So in a way, I think that you look at it and it's like, it seems like it should be taken seriously, but at the same time, I hope that it's approachable, and that, you know, the voice that we use to speak and the music that we're making and the fun that we're having on stage, that it just like remains approachable and human and relatable.
Actually, going back to the music videos, I understand that you did some of the choreography for, I think, 2 of them right now?
That was my major in school. I went to school for contemporary dance. So it's kind of a dream to be able to put those touches on those videos. But with songs like Push and Pull and Beck and Call and a few of the other ones on the album, it's just kind of like as we were making them, it's just, there was too much body movement going on for there to not be any dancing in the videos.
I think it kind of speaks to what July Talk is, and I hope that what it continues to be and what it can grow more into is just an art project, an art collective, right? We're all coming to this band with kind of skills and different interests. It'd be so cool to be able to have a project that we can all just kind of contribute ideas to, be it through choreography, or be it through visuals, or be it through tunes. When Josh and I were in university, we had we started a film company called Vulture Culture Films, which made music videos and short films and stuff. And I think there was a point where we actually wanted to start a band called Vulture Culture Films. It was always kind of pretty multidisciplinary, like we would get home from shooting a video and we'd write songs together, or we'd bounce ideas off it together. Josh had a band prior, and Danny and I had been in another band prior. It was like relatively like accepted that it was like, yeah, you do film, or yeah, you do dance. And I think that as it's developed, because we're playing so many shows, because we're so busy, we realized that the way that the project needed to grow was to collaborate with people around us that we really love. And Toronto, I'm not sure if you've ever visited Toronto, but right now is a really booming time for the arts community in that city. All these people that we went to film school with or are kind of up and coming in the industry there, they're like, oh yeah, I'll jump onto the July Talk project for 3 weeks and just like add something to the history of it.
I don't think we realized, we learned this pretty quickly, but I don't think we realized initially like how impactful that would be to like introduce the band, the personalities of the band to the audience that would be kind of going out and touring to. It kind of helped us build kind of a family abroad really quickly, and allowed the project to become much more serious for us right from the beginning than I think we anticipated.
Not long into the songwriting process, the video idea starts to kind of come together. If we know it's kind of going to be a single or whatever, Picturing Love in particular, the idea of the video came about while the song and mostly the lyrics were still being made. Push and Pull, I think it was like one of the first days that we ever even tried to demo it. All drinking and having a blast together, and look, there should be dance in this video, and that influences the way you write the song and the way you structure the feels and the changes and the mood of the song. I think that the song Touch always just had this sort of cinematic vibe to it, and yeah, I think it's a huge part of our process. And I think that the more we can blur those lines in the future, the more successful the videos are going to be. The more you're just kind of like deciding what a song should be or what a video should be late into the process after the record's already out, the more I think that the videos all kind of end up feeling very different and disconnected from each other.
In your mind, they should be made at the same time as the song's creation.
Ideally it's like Beyonce, right? Like where she's structuring an entire album visually in her brain as she's structuring the songs.
And is there anything else that you guys want to say? Any final thoughts? Anything else? Whatever you want to say.
Saratoga! Thanks a lot for the interview. Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
No problem. It's great to have you on. You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli, WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. We've been speaking with the rockers from Toronto, Canada, and their new album Touch is out now. This has been July Talk.
Push and pull, push and pull.